Every Sunday, side by side at the microphone, from the green light to the speed trap, Chris Switzer and Ray Garino calls them as they sees them, and you better believe them. Here, relevant news, biased opinions, and outright bullshit regarding every aspect of automotive culture. Gasp at mechanical trickery never before revealed over FCC-regulated airwaves. Thrill to the explosive tension as Chris and Ray cuss each other down the track and barrel roll across the finish line, laughing at certain disaster as they shake hands with the devil. All that and much more this Sunday at high noon on the Motormouth Radio Hour. Call in and speak live with the Wizards of Speed and live feed, Chris Switzer and Ray Garino. Bring the whole family. Kids under 12 get in free. Every Sunday at noon on WHPC. Take the Long Island Expressway to the Meadowbrook Parkway and look for the sign saying no parking on the expressway and no express service on the parkway. Go right on Highway 24 to Garden City. $2 all-day parking includes pit pass. Sunday!
Level 1 compression, listen to him talk, my 426 superstar. Tap on the dash at the cheater's leg. Superstar, superstar. Just high in burden, doesn't miss the leg. Superstar, superstar. All the sticks and automatics too. It'll take them all when you run it through my 426.
Superstar. Sing along. Listen, if you know what we're talking about, you're old, okay?
That's for sure.
And you've also tuned into Motormouth Radio, Long Island's only automotive talk show here on the island, because that's where we're at. Your hosts, Ray Guarino and Chris Switzer, and playing little 426 Superstock by the Superstocks. How inventive.
Of course it was. Recorded in your basement, I'm sure.
They did half the
1963.
They did half the songs in this album. Yeah, and you know, we're not talking about, when people hear 426, they think the elephant, right? In the room, sure. They think the Hemi. Well, no, there was a 426 wedge engine that was built for Superstock racing, and it was also very, very competitive, a real hot runner. Yeah. And that's what they were singing about, the 426 Superstock wedge. So, how are you, Chris?
Wedge is also the model for, like, the, what would you say, late 60s, mid to late 60s, 383s, 440s. Yeah. That was the basis for that.
Don't forget the 413.
413.
Yeah, it was 413 in the Dodgers. It was that Plymouth. That was a Plymouth engine, I think. So, and then, of course, there was all the wedges you got in high school, you know, by the lockers, you know, when the guys would come by and like, hey, Chris! Don't forget those.
Atomic wedgies.
Yeah, don't forget those. Those are legendary from your school, I think. It was...
yes.
Yeah. You guys had...
Still have the fingernails all chopped up to prove it. Grabbing the belt and...
Yeah, what fun. So listen, we had a great show last week with Elliot and Pat from the T-Bird Clubs. Their show is going on right now out there in the... Was it the King Cullen parking lot in...
yes, Kings Bay.
Kings Park?
Yes, in
Kips Bay. Yeah.
Kips Bay.
Brighton Beach.
Bay.
What? Yeah.
Kips Bay. Yeah, they're going to get nobody. No one is actually going to say, hey, we got to the show listening to Motormouth Radio. Yeah. No one's going to say that.
Well, I will say this, though.
Wow.
Somebody did like the fact that we had them on a 3-camera shoot last week. Our good friend Keith from down in Florida had made a comment. And you know what? Be like Keith. If you like the video, if you see the YouTube video, give it a like. You know what? Drop in a little comment. That always goes a long way. Same thing with the other platforms. We're Motormouth Radio on Facebook and on X. And if you go to Instagram, it's real_Motormouth Radio. Leave a little comment. We'll comment back. You know, we're social guys that way.
Some of us are.
Not so well, and not so social in other ways, but that way we happen to be, yes. So,
and, of course, if your thumbs are working today, you can text us 203-670-4127. That number, once again, Director Collect, 203-670-4127. Use your thumbs. Use them wisely.
And if people don't want to text, but they might want to call and talk, what would that number be?
Oh, you can call us at 516-572-7440, and always remember that ever important area code.
Yes, absolutely. Don't forget that. You ain't going to get through.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's that's the way to get a hold of us. And how can we be seen video-wise, Ray?
Yeah, the show is being recorded right now, and it will go up on YouTube later on. Yes, it is.
Check the hair in my nose.
Yeah, it's real underscore motor. Well, it's real underscore Motormouth video.
Motormouth video
on YouTube, and you'll find us there. And now you'll be able to see this. You'll see you'll see us saying.
Behind the scenes,
right?
Pay no mind to that man behind the console.
Exactly, and that's how you can find us. So I got to tell you something. I went to a meeting of the Corvette Society this week with Stan.
Did they ask you to speak again?
No. There was another speaker, and that's who I went to see.
Oh, who went? Elvis?
I went with our good friend Rick. No. Kevin McKay from Corvette Restorations.
Kevin!
Right.
Yes.
So Kevin did a great presentation, and we got to speak before and after the meeting, and I asked him to come back on this show, and he agreed. He said, sure, I love coming. I always had fun with you guys. I'd love to come back. So we will have Kevin McKay from Corvette Restorations on our show in the upcoming weeks. I just have to correlate a date with him, and we'll get him here in the studio again, and
that's fantastic. Kevin is the I would say the premier Corvette restorer. I mean, the attention to detail that Kevin's work displays is just magnificent. He knows exactly. The guy is he's definitely a Corvette aficionado to the nth degree. So
not only
good to talk to him.
And not only that, but he's through the years unearthed many historically significant Corvettes, a lot of race cars, Briggs Cunningham stuff, and he talked about that in his presentation. A lot of these old race cars. He's talked about it. We've had him on as well, and he's talked about, and he's got his book Corvette Hunter. I recommend you look that up, Corvette Hunter by Kevin McKay, and it details a lot of those finds and how he did it. He gives the secrets out. He says, look, I'll give the secrets out because, you got the same secrets as me, and two people don't get the same results, and sometimes it's a personality thing or, whatever. So I always appreciated that he did that. And it's a great read, reads real fast, and it's interesting. Whether you're interested in history or Corvettes in general or like the Tom Cotter stuff, like the barn find stuff. It's a fascinating book on many levels, and I recommend you read it. So,
Unlike some of the, what would you say, the local drag racers that we've had on our program, the super stock drag racers, that when we asked them their secrets, we gotten less of an answer.
Well, that was Richie Zul. Come on. Zul wouldn't give his secrets. I mean, when you're currently racing, you don't want to tell anybody, what spark plugs you're putting in the engine, because that could be the key. So in the moment, no one shares their secrets. But 40 years later, to still, I mean, just to recap quickly, I did some research on one of his cars. It was a Nova that he ran. Right. And I spat out all of the details that had been published about the build, engine-wise. And asked him how he still went so fast with those kind of nondescript parts and whatever.
Those specifications. And
he said, again, paraphrasing, this is a little while ago since we had him on, but I remember him kind of saying, well, Ray, you don't go fast enough, so you change the carburetor. That doesn't work. Then you change the intake manifold, and maybe you go back to the first one, then you slide another cam in, and you maybe do. He goes, and before you know it, you're breaking records. I was like, well, gee, Rich, thanks for that. Great. You really honed in on how you went faster. Total drag racing. Never give up the
I was all ready to take notes.
Me too. So anyway, yeah, fun stuff.
Didn't happen.
No.
Put the pen down. He's not giving up any secrets.
No.
They're going straight to the box with him.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what went out the box. We got a little bit of we had some movement in the shop this week.
Ooh, I hope it was a smooth movement.
Yeah, the 442 went over to get exhaust done.
Good.
And it did, and it sounded, I don't know, it just sounded so much better with open exhaust.
Oh, really?
I just love a sound of an open header car, man. It's so cool. Now it sounds great. Big block olds through a 3-inch X-piped exhaust, but it's a lot quieter and tamer. It sounds like a mild, now it sounds like a normal muscle car.
I'm looking forward to hearing the video of it.
I didn't take one because it would just sound like a car with exhaust. I mean, it's not really, I think my Pontiac is louder, to tell you the truth. And it's probably because of the muffler choice.
It's exactly what I was going to say. When I chose the mufflers for the Chrysler, I guess it's because I bought the system from a business that was more speed oriented. I said, give me the quietest mufflers you have, the quietest ones, and they sold me that they're I think they're called Super Torque. Don't quote me on it, but I installed them, and it was a little bit louder than I wanted.
Okay,
but it's so funny because now it's like gotten to the point where either I'm used to it or it just sounds good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. But when I first hooked them up, I'm like, this is a little bit loud. And the thing is, when I installed it, I didn't install it with a gun, with an impact gun. I tightened those things up by hand.
The clamp,
So what I was doing was, every once in a while, after the install, I would get under there and get another half a turn out of everything.
Right.
Just out of the U-bolts.
Sure.
Just get another half a turn out of it. And I think I must have gotten, since I've installed it, and at this point, I think I must have gotten like 2 or 3 turns tightening those U-bolts clamping them onto the pipes into the muffler. And I think it does sound quieter.
It could be, yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You got a big block Chrysler, so they can definitely sound mean as can be, or they can sound very docile depending on the mufflers. So that's and I get a kick out of these sites. You go to like the Borla site or and a lot of the sites, and you can listen to different muffler configurations, and they use the same car. I just did this. I just watched one on YouTube the other night. It was a guy with a '57 Chevy, and he was trying all these different type of street type mufflers. But he had the car up on jack stands. It had a set of slicks on it, and you could tell when he started it. It was like he had a hot engine in this thing. This thing was a hot roller. It wasn't a mild small block.
Right.
So right away, the thing had a chop to it, and anything he played through, it sounded, like a hot motor.
Sound the same.
But even like with the Borla stuff, they'll have like a Mustang, late model Mustang Camaro, something like that. And people don't realize the disparity. It's coming through a microphone into a computer. Okay, now I don't know if they're using any software on it, but you're listening to it through a computer, through some dinky desktop speakers.
Right.
I mean, if you listen through headphones, it'd be a little better.
Things are getting lost in the processing of
You're
the
not
audio.
really hearing the real thing. So, it's subjective at best. But so the car's quiet, and I'm sure we'll see how the owner likes it. Now I have to give it some tuning. I did play with it a little yesterday. Because the car, when it's running, you put it in gear, and then it would drop out. It wanted to stall, so you have to feather the gas or pop it into neutral. So I want to do a little carb tuning on it, and I wasn't getting adjustments out of the Quadrajet. So I don't know if the carb is actually at fault. I put a vacuum gauge on the engine and got good vacuum, not strong vacuum. But like I was telling Mike, this engine, when it was built, I'm sure has somewhat of a performance camshaft in it, meaning it's got some overlap to it, and you're going to get a little lower vacuum, than stock.
That's what I heard in the video. It sounded like it had a mild cam in it.
Well, yeah, but you were also hearing it through open exhaust manifolds. So you're going to hear that because you're hearing that staccato because you have two open just exhaust manifolds. Even if it had like a 2-foot section of pipe on each side, it would sound different. But
tell me if I'm wrong. The rhythm was irregular compared to. I think if you had a milder cam, you'd hear that bop it bop it bop, but it would be almost rhythmic. Whereupon a cam with a little bit of lobe to it would be irregular in its bop it bop.
Yeah, a little chop.
And that's what I heard. I heard that.
Yeah. I mean, a cam that is big enough. Even if you put a full exhaust system through it, you'll still hear that chop. It'll just be quieter. So now there's a lot of things in play here. So I got to get into it, tune it a little more, play around. But for the most part, that car is pretty much ready to go back to the owner and let him. There's a few more things we need to look at. I don't know if we're going to look at them first. Steering box has a leak, and there was something else Mike was mentioning to me. But the T-Bird came in. We talked about that one last week, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So they started taking
67, right? A 67 Thunderbird.
67. They started stripping the vinyl roof off of it during the week.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a bit of a job.
yeah. What was? Mind me asking, what was wrong with the vinyl roof? Was it ripped up?
Alligator to death. It was terrible. So the thing, believe it or not, I'm watching the guy. This is a guy named Roberto that Mike has who does the interior. Did the headliner in my car. He had this car so far apart. There was, all the inside trim had to come out. There was, I'm glad I didn't have to do this job. I'd be lost. But
did it have the Landau bars in the C panels?
Yes.
Oh, it did. That's probably why.
I'll tell you what. He asked me for some help taking them off. And inside, you could have your hand outside and feel the center. The center of the Landau bar is a circle, and then they come down. So you can
it's like a lazy S that starts at the top corner of the quarter and comes all the way down to the bottom portion of the quarter. Yeah, and it's a big piece of steel.
So you could feel the outside, say, with your left hand, and come around inside and kind of orient your finger to where the other one was, and say, and there was a nut right there with a big washer on it. I said, okay, well, we got to take this off. So I did, and then the thing was still on solid. I said, you know what? I think there's bolts on the outside edges too, and there were. The problem was there was these steel panels inside the car there. I guess it was like sound deadening panels, and I said these have to come off. Then I looked closer, and the nut that I took off wasn't for the Landau bar; it was for the window regulator. It just happened to be in the same spot.
Oh no!
So at that time, though, I was already knee deep in the tow truck job, which was really kicking my tail. So I had to leave him and go back to the other job, and I did see when I went back the next day, he had all of those panels out. He took half the inside of that car apart just to get those Landau bars off.
Oh.
So sometimes you think it's an easy deal, and it's really not. It's more than meets the eye.
I'm just going back to what I think I said last week.
Which was? Repeat it.
Which was, this is not a car for the faint of heart. To take apart and put back together.
You're right. Well, I agreed with you then.
Yeah, and they're not around. That's the thing.
I'll tell you what. You're going to love this one.
Oh, okay.
When we first got it in, and it was running, it ran real nice. It's got a rebuilt 390. I found out the 429 didn't start till the next year, 68.
Oh, okay. And this is a 67.
Right.
Okay.
So it's got a 390 and the engine and tranny had been rebuilt. It's got a Petronics billet distributor in it. And when I lifted the air cleaner, what do I see? A Holly 600, right?
What a shame.
Carb of choice. So at one point, we had to move the car, but the alternator is bad, so you have to jump it. And here's another little thing that people should be aware of. Mm-hmm. This is a public service.
They own these cars.
Well, no, they don't own any car.
Oh.
Any car, any older car.
I was going to say, we'll give advice for people that don't need it.
Yeah, well, you need this.
Okay.
I was going to start the car. Ronnie he got the jump box.
Okay.
And he attached the cables onto the battery and went, whoa, and pulled them off. He took the red one and put it on the red cable, the black one on the black cable. Well, no. What somebody did with that car is the positive cable that goes to the solenoid is black. And the ground cable is red.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's why when I asked them to get me a cable for the olds, I said, get me a cable X long, get a red cable. It's the positive. Well, they didn't make it. So what I do is I'll take a big piece of red, it's like a 3/4 inch shrink tubing, and I'll slide it all the way up to the battery connector and heat shrink it on. Like, this is the red cable.
Good one. Yeah, it's a smart idea.
So they don't make, you can, if you buy battery cables in bulk to make your own, you can buy red, black, brown, green, blue, whatever you want, but not off the shelf. They're kind of all black these days.
It's kind of funny because I was given the same situation. I had a red ground cable, and that's what I did something similar. I just took black electrical tape and I wrapped it in almost like how they would wrap it in the factory when they used to use electrical tape to wrap harnesses.
Right.
They did it in sort of a diagonal pattern.
Yeah.
So I mirrored that. I kind of mimicked that all the way down. Took the cable out, cleaned it up, did that, and reinstalled it. So now there were two black cables instead of, like you say, the scenario of a positive black and a negative ground red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now there were just two blacks. So now you had to look.
Right.
You had to look for the plus and the minus now because both of the cables were red.
So the fun wasn't over there. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
More fun.
So now
No, there's more to come.
he got the cables on the right way, and I start the car, and it didn't want to start. So I pumped the gas a few times, and this car's been sitting a long time. Pump it again. Finally get it like it didn't want to start. It sounded like it was, I smelt a little gas, so I held my foot down onto the throttle because I think it flooded a little bit, and then it fired right up. Right?
Oh.
And it cleared out. So I see Ronnie again, wow, waving me off. Shut it off. I go, oh, God, what's on fire? So I shut it off. I jump out and go, what happened? He goes, there's gas shooting out of the number one spark plug hole. I'm like, what? But the spark plug is in there, isn't it? Well, yes. And I got there in time to see a residual buildup of fuel in the little well where the plug goes in and still a little bit like squirting out. And I said, what the heck is that? And I thought, don't tell me this guy's got a cracked head, or something. God knows.
That's what I'm thinking. Worn out threads, cracked head.
What I did was, we moved the car, and then later on, I find myself going back and forth between things a lot during the day. I really do. And I'm going to tell you, that came in to haunt me yesterday. Luckily, it didn't hurt me, but it haunted me. And so when I got back to the T-Bird, it cooled down a bit, and I said, you know what? Let me just check this. I want to just check that plug. So I pulled the wire off, which was super tight, but the plug was super loose. Like, I put the ratchet on it, and instead of having to break it loose, I just went whoop, and just unthreaded the plug.
Oh, wow. So it was just a completely loose plug.
It wasn't really seated, and the compression of the engine was shooting the flooded gas straight out, right? So the plug was good. It was burning good. So I checked the next one. It was also loose. So now on my list is to take the other 6 plugs, just tighten all the other 6 plugs, make sure they're tight. And that was the problem. The reason, then I started it fired right up. I think what's happening, he was losing compression through the spark plugs because they weren't tight enough. Once I tightened those, boy, the car started much better. So
wow.
Stupid little. Basically, this falls into the category of, expect nothing but bad, and check everything, even the stupid stuff, because you're going to find things that are. Now, an engine builder built this engine. Why he didn't have those plugs tight enough, I don't know. Who knows?
It's so funny because they could have threaded them in, knowing to tighten them at a later time. Give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll tighten him down. Maybe he wanted to get his torque wrench and he got called away to some brake job on a tow truck. Who knows?
Maybe that's the job of the kid in the shop and he never got back. You don't know.
Got back to it.
So again, you have to check everything. You really do. You really have to check everything.
No, I get it. So already the car's giving you a fun time.
Well, but that's okay. I mean, this was little fact finding stuff. This is the it's like dating a new girl. And you got to get to know them. And they got to get to know you.
Plugs are tight?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, because you never know. But, it's that getting to know you phase. Like, I don't know this car, and now I'm getting to.
So this is the honeymoon phase.
Kind of, yes. I did take it for a drive. I did take it around a couple of blocks. Tell you what, car drives nice. Yeah. It kind of floats like a T-Bird. The brakes were good. The power steering was a little too loose for my taste, but it was power.
It's a Ford. It's a 50-year-old Ford.
Yeah. It shifted well. Shifted okay.
You don't drive them. You kind of point them. You navigate them like a ship.
It took me like 3 blocks to figure out how to turn the windshield wipers on because, the controls aren't to the left. They're under the center stack over here, which is...
Oh, and it's a knob, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're like levers that go up. There's
it's the levers.
Under the... Like, right, like if you where the radio speaker would be on the dash. If you follow that down under the peak of the dash, there's these 4 levers. And one of them is wipers. I didn't even check what the other ones were for. Probably maybe HP. I don't know. So it took me a while to figure out where it was. But so the wipers didn't work, and I don't know what else is. So there's going to be other things that are going to be in there. So, but
now,
that's
if I'm
all.
not mistaken, I think that car has got vacuum wipers.
Oh God, I hope not. 67, it shouldn't be.
The Lincolns did.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I hope
the
not.
Lincolns did. Yeah, they had vacuum wipers.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was probably they they loved hydraulics. For some reason, Ford had a thing for hydraulics at this time, in this juncture, the mid to late 60s, and then abolished them quickly. But this was like the last gasp for hydraulics and vacuum in these cars. I think it was because of the sounds. Like, does the Thunderbird have door locks? Does it have automatic door locks?
I don't know. No, actually,
Okay.
it's got manual locks on the
Manual locks.
because I had to push it and hold a button to lock the door. Yeah, I do. I did
Okay.
that myself, right?
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, if you hit the door lock on a Lincoln Continental, which is basically the same car, it'll makes that sucking noise. Boom,
Okay, yeah,
boom,
yeah, right.
does that. So
right.
instead of the GM hard
Click.
clunk,
Yeah.
clunk,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that they kind of attributed those noises to a lack of luxury. You know, it has an industrial sort of sound, and
all
Lincoln
right.
didn't want that.
Yeah.
Thunderbird didn't want that.
Yeah.
Ford didn't want that.
I tell you something, sitting in the car, and me never really having been a Ford guy per se.
Yeah.
There are
Oh,
Fords.
you will be now.
Well, there are some Fords that I have always and still do like very, very much, and some I would probably actually own if but it'll never happen because they're expensive ones. But sitting in this T-Bird, I'm just looking around, and I'm really digging that aircraft vibe. The curved surfaces, the door handles to get out are levers. You pull a lever. You don't. That was cool. I said, that is really neat. The details. The oddball thing I thought was it's got this. It has a column shift, and there's a long center console with a cubby storage up on the waterfall section, and then below that is an ashtray, I guess, for the front occupants. Way in the back, there's an ashtray inset with a lighter for the rear seat passenger.
Because everybody smoked then.
Right.
Yes.
But the whole center between those ashtrays doesn't open. It's just...
No, it doesn't.
I'm like, well, that's stupid. There's your console,
There's your opportunity right there.
And they didn't do that. So I found that kind of odd. And the glove box on the right side is kind of small. I opened that, and it is kind of small in there. So that was, not a lot of storage space. But
No.
but beautifully designed dash, real nice. They really, like I said, it was
definitely
really
aircraft inspired
Yeah.
dash, because those T handles were deliberate. They wanted to make it look like an aircraft control. They did that for, I would say, starting around 1958, 59, 60, around that, maybe even 61. They did that aircraft motif. But yeah, very, very nice.
Do you know who might have designed that stuff? Who the designers were for Ford?
Probably, what was his name?
Wasn't Knutson at Ford for a while before he went to Pontiac?
His name is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Burke. They used to call him the Bird Brain, the head Bird Brain.
Really?
yeah, and he was the one that did the interiors, and I think his name was Burke. I'm not sure. I could look it up, but they used to call him the head Bird Brain, and he did all of those interiors after like 58.
Vince just asked about a swing away steering wheel, and I said no, it didn't. That's the one thing it doesn't have.
They did away with it after 66.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
There was no need for them, but then they just had the tilt. They kind of went the GM way with
This
that.
one doesn't tilt either.
Does it?
Yeah, it does not have a tilt.
Doesn't tilt or telescope?
I didn't see anything on that left side besides the directional lever, so I'll look again closer. Maybe there's something underneath. I don't know.
Usually there's that little. It's kind of a lever that's a crescent that sits above the steering wheel, or they used to have a knob in the center that would turn.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't see anything like that. So. Yeah, maybe it is there, and I just didn't see it. I don't know. I wasn't really looking per se for that, but I was just giving it the once over as I'm driving it. So, that's
good. I'm glad it drives well.
So that's there. The rear shocks are shot. It's like boing, boing, boing. So that's get shot.
Wait. What was it?
Yeah, boing, boing, boing.
Okay,
just like that.
The Italian shots.
It's got the we found. Well, Mike found out yesterday. He picked. That's what I tell you. I never know what's going on in that shop. I left there Friday, and the Olds was in the center bay.
Right.
You
have 3 bays, right?
There's 3 bays. Let me remember now. What was in the left bay? Hang on a second, because the Olds was over there.
I see the smoke brimming
Oh,
now.
that's all right. We put the T-Bird in the left side bay because the rear window had been taken out of it. Olds was in the middle bay. Yeah. And what? Well, when they were doing the vinyl, they took all the molding off and they cut the window out. They figured good time to reseal the window. I think they saw some damage.
Okay.
And the one bay all the way to the side had a customer's car in it, the first bay. So, and the lot was clear. The in front of the doors was clear. I went in there yesterday to do some work, and I'm like, okay, now there's a terrain outside. I'm like, that's there. The Mike's. What do you call it? His Crown Vic is over here by the third bay outside. I'm like, okay. Then I go in the shop. The Olds is in the middle. The T-Bird's gone. There's a Grand National now in the third bay, and the Accord is still in the first bay. I'm like, it's like musical cars at night is what happened. So what had happened is, they brought in the brother-in-law's Grand National, stuck that there. Mike took the T-Bird over to Limbrook to have some patchwork done on the roof and all. And so I said, okay, well now I got to, you're always moving stuff around. So later in the day, he called me. He says, hey, you're over in Oceanside, right? I said, yeah. He goes, good. I got to come by with the T-Bird. He goes, I brought it over to Limbrook. He says, damn it. He goes, I pull out to leave. He says, first of all, the thing wouldn't start. I had to jump it. Yeah. I said, I told you, it needs an alternator. It's got to be jumped. And then he runs out of gas. On top of it. So he had to walk back, get gas. Oh, he was a little steamed. And I said, so he said to me, yeah, the gas gauge reads full. I said, look, full is, full don't mean full. Full means,
full means a ground issue on that gauge.
No, it means the sending unit is bad. Let's go to the phones and see what the callers have to say when we say, hi, caller, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hello, Ray and Chris. How you doing?
Good. Who are you speaking with?
This is Bill Mack.
I thought so, Bill. How are you?
Yes, I thought we'd recognize the professional professional voice.
What's happening,
Yeah,
Bill?
I gargle with gravel.
Yeah, good.
I'm nothing but envious. So,
you guys sound great. Hey, I love the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last time I called you guys, you helped me with a Toyota. You pointed out a relay that somebody didn't even know was in the car.
Right.
You made me look like a magician.
Excellent.
Really.
Excellent.
Thank you. High praise.
Yeah, it was
you
great.
should call more often, Bill.
Anytime.
Hey, come into the studio. We got space here. You can come do the show with us. That's fine.
Hey, that'd be great. Listen, though, I have an issue, and it's not. It's kind of weird. I have an old car, and I'm talking 20 years old. It's a 2003.
Come on!
That's brand new. Come on!
I have socks older than that.
You're making
He's wearing a bell.
Anyway.
Yeah, I am.
It's got about 100,000 miles on it.
Nice.
And I want to try and make it last. There was a recall on it for a light control module.
Okay.
What kind of car is it?
I never had. It's a Grand Marquis.
Okay. Good car.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I love them. I love it. You know what?
Yeah.
I was in my past life, I was a corporate chauffeur at one time, and all I drove was Lincoln Town cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I look at these new little boxes, I just can't get into it.
No.
I don't blame you. No, you got one of the best there. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But my issue is it's got a recall. I left messages with 2 Ford dealers, and neither one of them called me back. So I know they don't want to do recalls. I get that. Right. I was calling you guys to see if you had a line on, how should I attack it?
I would just go to the Ford dealership, the closest one to your house, walk in and say, hey, I have this recall paper. When can we schedule it? Like face to face.
Okay.
It's going to be hard if they can't hang up on you.
That's true.
I know.
That's true.
And, I did, a little research, but I found out that these, because I was worried this is probably an old recall. And I figured, well, can they cancel them? And reading up on it says, no, it's a safety recall. They can never cancel it.
Got it. Now, whether or not they have the parts for it is another question.
Right. What's the recall for again, Bill?
It's the light control module. They say that the solder joints got ruined or whatever, and that's the issue.
Right.
Okay. And will the worst case scenario is it can catch fire, I'm assuming?
No, just that while you're driving, your lights may go out.
Right. It's kind of like the timer. So if you have automatic lights, And there's a relay involved in that as well. I know because one of my cars has that. Yeah, they should. It's all going to come down to whether or not they have the parts. They may tell you. They may give you the thing, hey, it's on national back order, and we'll call you. You know, don't call us, we'll call you.
Right.
And then you always have, when there's recalls involved or dealership stuff, you can always get to a zone rep. He's the guy who, reps your area. It could be the Northeast, or it may be Long Island, who knows.
Right.
But the zone rep, if you have to get a zone rep into intervene, that usually moves things along quicker. But only if the dealer gives you a hard time, I would say see what they have to say first, and then, then go take the next step that way.
Yeah, because my only indication is that they didn't call me back. So, okay.
Right.
That could be anything. But,
right.
I'm my own worst enemy because I'm expecting the worst.
Well, we all do that. We all kind of pull back with stuff like that because you do expect the worst. Not getting a call back from two dealers kind of bolsters the belief, which is unfortunate. Mm. But
and they're probably saying, "Oh, it's an 03, it's ancient." Hopefully he'll go away, sort of thing. And I think Ray's got the right idea by walking in with the keys jingling, saying, "Here."
Maybe the thing to do is call the dealership, but ask to speak with the service manager. And and then when you have him on the phone, you say, "Hey, listen, I have this recall for my car. I'd like to schedule a date. What can you do for me?"
Right.
And
okay.
And go from there like that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not that it's an awful job if you're swapping out that light switch assembly. But it's still something I wouldn't want to do if you know that the dealer is going to do it au gratis. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a box. It's under the dash. It's
a box of magic. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, for giggles, I looked it up, and I can buy the module it's about $285. But then I said, you know what? That's the small part. Now they got to take the car apart to get the damn thing in there.
It should be pretty easy. Sometimes you find them behind a glove box or in a kick panel. They're usually not that hard, and keyword here is usually. You don't want to have the one that you have to disassemble the car for. Let them do that.
Right. Yeah. And also there's a certain awareness of a 20-year-old plastic dash piece.
Very true.
That you really need a gentle touch to remove them, because you can't just gorilla them apart. And that's something at your car's age, it may be an issue. So, and they may go, I don't want to touch that one.
Yeah, but there's usually the old guy in the shop who did those when it was new.
Right, has the touch.
And I'll tell you something, a good service manager will give him the RO and say, hey, listen, you've probably done these back in the day. I got another one for you. And the guy will either say, oh, that was my favorite. I can do that. And they're going to give me 8/10 and I can do it in 2, make a lot of time. Or he's going to say, oh, my God, that one always went over. I always lost time on those. So, but that's their issue. That's not yours. That's
right. It's certainly not your problem, but it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Right. No, thank you.
Well, let us know what happens, Bill. Please follow up with that because it's great for people to know how that endeavor goes.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Let you know. But thanks, guys. Always good to talk to you, and I get good information out of you. Keep talking.
Always a pleasure, Bill. Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Bill.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Keep us posted.
All right, that's good to hear. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. And of course, Bill McIntyre was
the voice of this fine radio
staple
station.
on this station for many years. Yes. Great, doing news and all. I learned a lot from listening to him. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
So
I tried to imitate him as much as I could. My voice doesn't drop that way.
Doesn't work. So we went past the bottom of the hour. We got to take our due break and talk about stuff. I will tell you that in case you want to know, your WHPC weather is powered by Does Bagels with locations in Garden City Park, Freeport, Levittown, and now open on 7th Street in Garden City. Today, sunny, high 71. Let me look out the weather window. Yep, I see trees and I see sun. It's nice. I drove in with the top down today.
You had your top down. I like that.
I did. Tonight, going to be cloudy, low 61. Still nice night. We're getting a little cooler now. And it's going to be partly cloudy with a chance of showers tomorrow. Unless you're in the Caribbean, in which case, if you want to go there, you should listen to the Caribbean Mix Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on this station.
Maybe in the middle of a hurricane, but you'll be there.
That's right. Hosts Kedner Stiven and Marjorie DeJour. The hottest compa and Caribbean hits from yesterday and today are played, plus Haitian news, events, and more. I guess you find out where all the jerk chickens are.
Yes, and I had a compa yesterday that was just, steaming.
Excellent. But do we have an honor group of the hour that's steaming?
That is true. Yes, we do. And in the next third of our program, I want to talk to you about what I got stuck on a nipple.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you how I got the Knucklehead of the Week award.
Ooh, it's going to be a very good third part of the show.
So do it quick because we're running out of time.
Yeah, but before we get there, we're going to talk about the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. And this week, if you go out of your way to take a picture of someone else's car, like this summer we talked about if you take too many pictures of your car, but now if you take way too many pictures of someone else's car. Mm-hmm. So now, taking snapshots of classic cars and hot rods at car shows are easy pickings. I'm talking about finding those cars on the street in the wild. Do you have thousands of shots of nice old cars just sitting in the street by the curb? Ever make fast friends with those guys and turn down their offers to sell the car to you? How many times you'd be sitting in a restaurant or cafe with your significant other when you abruptly scream, jump up and run out to grab a picture when that Ferrari F40 goes roaring by? Well, if you like to collect pics of other car guys, hot rods, or classic cars, or if you see someone taking a picture of your own car and get turned down when you offer to sell it to them as well, then you are part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour this week.
I tell you what, I've done both. I have a folder on my phone with other people's cars, and I've seen people taking a picture of my car.
So have I. I've seen pictures. I've seen people take pictures of my car.
Yeah,
and usually they're usually gray 4-door sedans.
Yeah,
but the guys are in suits.
Right. So let's take care of the second part of our break. Sky King will be back in a minute or so with more Motormouth Radio. Ray Guarino, Chris Switzer, right here on 90.3 WHPC. Hit it.
Your car not running right? Let the Motormouths help you out at 516-572-7440.
This show on 90.3 WHPC is brought to you by CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision, with 2 locations in Limerick and Oceanside, who remind you that New York state law says you always have the right to choose which shop will fix your car. CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision offers a full range of services, 24-hour towing between Montauk and Manhattan, shuttle service, and they can help you with a rental car arrangement if needed. All repairs include the CarStar Lifetime Nationwide Warranty, ensuring that the experts at Celebrity Chase Collision are always on your side.
Y sí, hablamos español.
More information is available at 516-593-0920 or online at celebritychasecollision.com.
Okay, Mark Warman here from Graveyard Cars, hanging out with my buddies at, what's the name of it again?
Motormouth Radio.
Hey, Mark Warman here from Graveyard Cars, hanging out with my friends at Motormouth Radio. Sunday morning, I don't know what this fat bald guy's laughing about. You'll forget stuff soon enough too, my friend. Be sure to listen. When are you guys on? 10 a.m.?
Sundays at noon.
Noon on Sundays.
Excellent. This was
no, you got the promo. The best one was the first one. That's why I was because you said, what was the name of this again? That's the promo.
What better presentation could you do than that?
Hey, you, get over here. Every Sunday, 12 to 1, you are going to tune in to hear the Motormouths, my friends Ray Guarino and Chris Switzer. 90.3 FM, WHPC. You might learn something.
Yeah, you might learn something. You never know. John was right about that. Like Bill said, sometimes you learn something and you get to look like a smart guy because you picked up on something. So we are back. Motormouth Radio, Ray Guarino, Chris Switzer. And, okay, do you want to hear how I how I became the boneheaded?
All right, go with the bonehead, and I'll try and follow up with the nipple.
Okay, it's like we said before. I've been using the Fiat, driving it, and I had it at the shop yesterday. So what I wanted to do was a little bit of maintenance while I was there, and I put it up on the lift, did an oil change. I was going to do the change the motor mounts, but that didn't work out. And in the meantime, I'm doing that, And then I was doing a little bit of work on the olds, back to the Fiat, waiting for the oil drain, go to 7-Eleven, get a coffee, went out. I did a little bit of stuff on the tow truck. So I was kind of doing 3 or 4 things at one time. Then Mike came, I was talking to him.
That's never good.
But I was keeping in line. Everything was in track. It was good. I checked the rear end fluid, added to that, given a good look over under the car. And I looked and it was time was getting tight. I had to meet somebody by 4:00, and it was now 3:15ish. So I had the car down, and the Fiat, and I'd opened the last thing. I said, you know what? Last thing, let me just suck the brake fluid out of my master cylinder and replenish it, which I do regularly, And then I remember oh wow, I got to move 2 other cars around now because the T-Bird's back, get the olds back in the shop. So how do I do the Jenga thing of moving the cars out? So I get the Fiat out, get the olds in, get the other car over, move things around. Okay, make sure the compressor's off, lights are off, set the alarm, get out. There we go. Driving away, fine. And then, it was funny because I get to the first light and I hit the brakes. I'm like, wow, my brake pedal feels better than it did before. And I'm going to change the master cylinder because after I bought that master cylinder tool I told you about a few weeks ago, I had pulled the master off the booster on my Fiat, and I checked it with the tool to see if the rod, and it was good. But I did see a little bit of a weep on the back seal of the master. So I bought a master. So I bought a master cylinder. It's in the trunk. I'll get to it someday. So,
doing a lot of good there, but I got it.
Well, but now I know it's wow, the brakes actually feel a little better now. They feel a little bit firmer. And of course, I'm at a light. Some guy stops next to me. I think he was a Haitian fellow from Caribbean, and he's asking me what year the car. 3 times this week, people have stopped me to ask what year the car is, what's going on. So I'm talking. Yeah. Of all cars, they say, "Oh, it looks great." I'm like, "This car? Are you kidding me?" So we're talking back and forth at the light. I have myself a nice big cigar. I'm smoking my stogie, and life is great. And
you're polluting the air. Good.
No, the top was down, so it was fine. So I'm on par to make my meeting, and we take off and go again. Another light, stop, and then I realized, oh my God, I never filled the master cylinder with brake fluid. I was in such a rush. I slammed the hood and I got the car out. I never filled it with brake fluid. I'm driving with no fluid in my master cylinder right now.
I thought you didn't fill because you said you drained the crankcase.
Right.
I thought you didn't fill it with oil. And I'm like, how far are you going to get before you seize the engine? But I'm sure now you put oil in the crankcase. You filled the engine with oil.
And I filled the oil filter before I put it on the car.
Good for
that
you.
car with
my dad would be proud.
2-liter engine has this an unbelievably huge oil filter. I don't know why. So now I'm like halfway there, and I'm close.
What do you do?
I said, you know what? I got to go to the Limbrick shop because I think the guys are still there. They'll have some brake fluid, or I got to stop at a store and buy brake fluid, right?
Right, exactly. Where's the nearest AutoZone or whatever?
And there was no auto parts stores between me and Limbrick, so I said, so I whip into the driveway there, and Mike Jr. and Nick were outside working on Nick's Miata, and I get out. I said, hey, I'm in a rush. I said, Mike, you got brake fluid here, right? He goes, yeah. I said, watch this, and I opened the hood, and there was the cap off. It's got 2 wires on it for the sensor. Off. I said, last thing I did was sucked out the brake fluid. I didn't refill it before I left the shop.
Oh, that's hysterical.
So Mike had the comment of the day. I come back with the brake fluid. I'm filling it. He's like, yeah, Nick, there's a real car guy. Smoking a cigar, pouring the brake fluid. I said, you got a can of carburetor cleaner? I'll light that off too. I don't give a crap. Give me whatever you got. Brake clean. Give me something flammable. I don't care. I said, look, this is no time for safety here. We're getting. So of course, put it back together. Off I went, and I was fine. Everything was good. So
no air got trapped in the lines, I'm assuming.
No, actually, when I looked, I sucked it down pretty dry to the floor.
That's why I'm thinking.
And there's a little hole that's like beveled down. And now when I looked, fluid had come up because I guess when I pressed on the brakes, fluid goes back and forth in the system.
Yeah.
That's why the master cylinder gets dirty. Right. It goes back. So some of it had come back. And luckily, I learned that you can drive a car with like no fluid in the master cylinder. And I don't want to have that car get an air pocket because it's a hard car to bleed. There's
I remember you saying that.
the lines go in the back. They're long, and it's not an easy car to bleed, and also the cooling system gets air pockets. So thank God I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So I will say that, yes, I will take that away. So as soon as I pulled it, I said, listen, don't go calling me, some genius brake technician like you always do. I said, wait till you see the stupid thing I just did. So, all right.
But totally explainable. I get it. It's a bonehead move.
Again,
yeah.
I was more concentrated on moving the cars around and how to Jenga them than
the safety of your own vehicle.
And I just missed it, and I slammed that hood closed, and I was done. So, all right.
This week we had to grease the clutch rod. The clutch rod on Pat's Camaro has a Zerk fitting on.
Okay.
So in order to get at the Zerk fitting, we had to get the grease gun up and past the header, past the spring, and literally you had to get your hand into it up to like maybe mid forearm in order to attach it. So of course you couldn't get the grip to attach it. So someone had to get on top of the fender to reach down past the headers to the backside of that shaft, grab hold of the grease gun and plug it in.
Right.
So it was a two-man job, basically. So instead of using my worn-out grease gun, Pat went out and bought a new one. Got a brand new grease gun. First time we're using it. So we plug it in. He goes, gives it a couple of pumps. We get a squeeze out of one side. I think a little bit comes out. So it was well greased at that point. And now we go to try and take the grease gun off the Zerk fitting.
Okay, hold that thought, because we have a call. And the caller is... Caller, you're on live with the Motor Mouths. What's up?
It's Joe. How you doing today?
Hey, Joe, what's happening?
Yeah, not much. Just got to talk about two things. One, you were talking about with the vacuum drive windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Yeah, AMC had them too. Unfortunately, the vacuum lines dried out, so towards the end it was string-powered.
Yeah, string-powered. I know how that goes.
You know, it's funny, Joe. I remember you saying this years ago. I remember you saying that AMC had also vacuum wipers as well. Yeah, you were like the only one other than you and I think we're the only ones that are still aware of those things.
Oh, it's stuck in my memory just for that fact. I got so much. Not only that, but also my friends are still busting my chops about it. Doing my redneck improvised routine.
What was the car?
It was a 68 AMC Ambassador.
It was an Ambassador. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they probably bought the whole system from Ford.
Yeah. And the other thing you're talking about with the alternator issues and the gas gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a 70 Ford Galaxy, and the gas gauge was stuck. But if it started to drop, that means that I was having battery issues or charging issues.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were getting an alternator reading from a gas gauge.
Well, alternator or battery power. All I know is that it would be, as soon as I started saying, okay, it's down to 3/4 of a tank, something's wrong with the electrical system.
That's great.
Ford with its multi-gauge option.
That's cool.
That's very funny. Very funny.
Well, I'm stuck at work, and I know you're running out of time, so I gotta go.
All right, Joe. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call.
All right, so long.
Always learn a little bit from Joe. How you doing over there? You got a frog in your throat?
No, I've had this little cough, this dry tickle on and off for weeks now.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad that it started now, not in the early part of the show.
Great when you're on the air.
I know. It's fantastic. Yeah.
So anyway, like I was saying, Zerk fitting is now, I've got the grease gun stuck on the nipple, and we can't get this thing off for love or money. It will not come off. I got a pair of 90-degree needle nose pliers. We're digging away at it. I got a molding clip tool trying to get it off. Finally, both of us, it took us literally like 45 minutes to try and get this hose off. So you know what we did? You know what I did? I actually went online. I found a guy on YouTube that showed you how to remove a
what was his method? Because I would have got under it with a little screwdriver and popped it up.
You know what you do? You literally you take the grease gun hose and you bend it at an angle, any angle.
Yeah.
And then you twist it.
Right.
Right.
That's kind of like when you get under it, you move the fitting off of its axis. But I have the cure for that.
Oh.
It's an end that I bought from my
never grease it again.
No, it's an end that I bought for my grease gun, and I'll put a picture up. And it actually has a lever on it. So you push the lever, it'll go over the fitting, and when you release the lever, it locks it onto that Zerk fitting. You can't get it off now. So you push the lever, and then it releases it. So it's for cars like when I do the FJ, when I do the axles, some of them are you got to get into a real tight spot, and when you put the fitting on, it would always pop off. This way, it locks into place.
Yeah, that's always been my lament with my grease gun, because it's so worn out that you almost have to hold it onto the Zerk fitting and pump at the same time, which is, of course, you need 3 hands to do the job.
Absolutely. Well, this thing, I bought it on Amazon, and it was fairly cheap. Under $14, I think. I'll put a picture of it up. I'll put a picture up this week.
So, yeah, we literally spent about 45 minutes between the both of us. And it's so funny because between the both of us, we had like 100 years of automotive knowledge. Not once did we ever have a stuck grease gun coupling
I've had it happen
on a nipple. Yeah,
I had it happen a few times. That's why I ended up buying that fitting. You should have called your daughter. Maybe she could have. She probably would have said, Dad, bend the hose, do something.
Bend the hose.
Right.
Bend the hose on the nipple.
Exactly. But yeah, that's crazy stuff. So
yeah. So that was my excitement for the week.
All right. So listen, my excitement is going to be getting out of here in one piece.
Yeah, exactly. Try to get rid of that cough.
As soon as I leave, it'll stop. What do I tell people waiting for me outside in the parking lot?
Don't follow us home unless you have some cough syrup.
I got a thing now. All right. Take us out, because I can't talk.
This is Motormouth Radio. That's Ray Guarino falling on the floor there. I'm Chris Switzer. We're going to be talking more next week, but for right now, for Ray, all I have to say is, see ya.
Right. 90.3 WHPC. We're out. Bye-bye.